These plants used to only grow out in the wild. Until one day, people decided to cultivate them for various reasons. It was then later brought into our homes for decorative purposes. A relatively normal hobby back then. But it had a different impact when COVID-19 affected the country. The idea of domesticating living things from the wild is not really something new, from the fishes in our aquariums to our dogs as pets. During the Neolithic period, the transition from human hunter-gatherers to begin settlement drove people to domesticate plants, primarily used for medicinal treatments and food consumption. By the time of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of history's greatest mysteries, plants began to be appreciated and used for their beauty. However, the existence of the garden still remains questionable due to its lack of archaeological evidence, not to mention its conflicting written records. By the late 1500s, exotic plants have caught the attention of the wealthy. It became a status symbol for the rich and famous. While during the Victorian era, the popularity of gardening is evident from newspapers to advertisements. Even certificates for garden recognitions were made. It was seen as a profession and as a hobby. It can be observed that it was a profession dominated by men, and was only later on that middle-class women were accepted into this profession. After the Second World War, houseplants were in demand once again. With its availability in the market, it was no longer a symbol of wealth, but rather a symbol of beauty and wellness. Today, with the current pandemic, COVID-19 has placed a portion of the Philippines on lockdown. And many have turned to a common hobby, plants. According to Forester Hubert of the Forest Management Bureau, it was a way for people to cope up with everything that's happening around them.
Maghahanap ka talaga ng isang bagay na makaka-ease ng stress mo, lalo na nung mga unang buwan kasi ng pandemic. Sobrang stressful talaga. And plants kasi are considered talaga as air purifiers, as well as it absorbs toxins and syempre decrease the level of anxiety.
As people are seen to enjoy the company and benefits of these plants, it quickly influenced others to own one for themselves.
There's a marked increase of people calling our office about which plant can be used for house gardening, including people wanted to know which plants are prohibited from trade so that they will know which plant species that they should buy.
With the increase in demand, there is also a significant increase in poaching. Endangered plant species are being illegally collected and sold at a very high price. It was seen as an alternative source of income as many lost their jobs during the pandemic. Overpricing has also been a problem in the market. The government has no plans on implementing a price scheme. As Trade Undersecretary Ruth Costello said, ornamental plants is neither a basic nor a prime commodity for survival. This is alarming news for our wildlife. The Philippines is considered to be a mega-diverse country.
Pag sinabi natin mega diverse country, ang daming plant species dito sa Pilipinas na dito lang matatagpuan.
And 10 of the most commonly poached include orchids, ferns, medinillas, begonias, alocasias, cycads, agarwood, zingibers, tree ferns, and malave. These species are protected under the Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, which makes it illegal to gather and or transport them. Penalties for violators from this act can face imprisonment of 6 to 12 years, which could also include a fine of 100,000 to 1 million pesos. With all this in mind, how can we be responsible plant parents?
Check whether These plants are illegally to be possessed, so considered to be threatened, vulnerable, or critically endangered sa wildlife. Before you purchase the plant, make sure that you know with whom you transact. Kung ito ba ay may permit, alamin natin kung ano yung basic needs ng halaman. You should really understand the plant itself muna.
Plants have been here for a long time and been providing us benefits. How are you going to protect them?